Hey, what's going on? I got a special guest here today. We have Joel Bauer. This man represented some of the largest companies in the world for 26 years, such as Apple, IBM, and Microsoft, and they relied on him. Why did they rely on you, Joel? What caused them to rely on you?
They came to me because they were doing trade shows and new product introductions. And at that time, there was no online. So the most difficult place to function in the world today is a trade show floor. You got noise and chaos. And so I could frame their message and have people hanging on three concise messages. And I used to guarantee or their money back that if people didn't remember all three of the messages, that they didn't have to pay me. I also guaranteed the largest crowd and the highest conversion from unqualified leads to actual sales. So if you've got a company, product and or service, you're an individual, mommypreneur, daddypreneur, you're someone with a vision and you need to frame it in today's world with all the AI, and you still want to put your humanity out there, what they're going to learn today, right here, if we explore it, will be something they can use immediately tonight, tomorrow morning. The same techniques I used with Apple, Microsoft, Sasferco, Cargill, Mitsubishi Electronic, and that's just to name a few. And the techniques never let me down because remember, if I wasn't effective, I didn't get paid. Couldn't take care of my family or our emerging family. All of our children now are adults. Two of them work with our company. Even my grandson is beating me at chess. So it's amazing how fast this happens. And the AI doesn't bother me one bit because what I do will never be replaced by AI.
Interesting. That's fascinating. And what caused you to come up with that model to present to the firms?
Well, quite frankly, I had a background in performance, presenting on stages. I had a unique set of skills involving movement, legerdemain, mathematical skills, psychological skills that went into the fabric of a show that really wasn't a magic show. It was really relating to the audience. And what happened was we find ourselves at 9/11. And at that moment, I was in Atlanta, first tower, second tower. I call my wife and I go, we're going to have to pivot. This will be the end of the trade show industry. So what started it was, how do I get off the cruise ships? I was an assistant cruise director, then a cruise director. I started at 13 and a half. And you know what cruise directors do? They're really salesmen. They learn to promote Rolex and Patek Philippe and Audemars
Yeah.
Piguet and liquor and everything else that's being sold. The ship is just one big floating shopping center. People don't realize that. And they took me on at 13 and a half. Didn't want to know my age, even though I think they knew my age. I worked for Carnival Cruise Lines, which was the Kmart of the Caribbean at that time. It was the very beginning. We only had two ships. One of them was welded together. It was like a hodge. It was hysterical. It's
Yeah.
another story. So I realized after 10 years on cruise ships, I wasn't going to have a family
Yeah.
and I wasn't going to have a life. I had a lot of money. I was making great money. And my mother didn't care about school. She said, school is for you to figure out what you want to do with your life. You're only going to use 3 to 5% of what you learn anyway, addition, multiplication, basic English
Yeah.
infrastructure in terms of communication, maybe a little psych. And she said, if you know what you want to do, Joel, go do it. This is a really unusual mother. Father
Yeah.
wasn't there. He took off.
Oh wow.
So on the cruise ships, I got all that experience. And all of my mentors who trained me died because I was 13. They were 50, right? You know, so they're gone, way gone, except for one. He was young, Gary Hunter. He taught me how to create a relationship with the audience. And he taught me how to make things experiential. And that's the entire key to closing without closing, to selling without selling, to not feeling dirty where the audience feels like they need to take a shower. And when I left the ships, I said, what can I do with these skills? The only place my mom had ever taken me were trade shows. We'd never gone on a vacation together. I mean, there was no father, so she worked her butt off
Yeah.
and kept food on the table and a roof over my head and clothing on my back. And quite frankly, I said, okay, this is over. I need to leave these ships. What can I do with these skill sets? And I
Interesting.
realized that I could frame a message and I could probably build a crowd because what do you learn on a cruise ship? audience management skills, how to take energy and focus them and get them to a call to action, whether it's taking them on the San Juan city tour, or whether it's taking them to snorkeling. You're always managing a crowd, distributing masquerade supply. I mean, literally, we learn to manage people's attentions and focus them. And so I started cold calling at trade shows,
I,
and I learned that don't have a meeting. Walk right into the friggin' booth. This was my technique, nuts,
yeah,
and just grab a chair. I'd step up on the chair in the middle of the booth for IBM, huge companies that were empty. I'd look for a huge company. They built it and no one came. And I'd
yeah.
grab the chair and I'd stand on it and I'd build a crowd, convey their message, because I could just look at the side panels and kind of figure out and decipher extemporaneously what the message was. I built these huge crowds, and that went on for over 20 years for some of the largest companies. I literally didn't have a brochure, a website, or a business card. When I started out, I just cold called, and I booked 96 out of 98 cold call trade shows that I went to. Two
Yeah.
failures, and they weren't really failures. I just didn't know the type of shows that I needed to go to. So I made a mistake with two, and I had 100%. Then we had six guys working for us. Then I said, wait a minute.
The
Yeah,
big thing.
sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good, Joel. You're an incredible storyteller. The two big things I'm taking away for the audience to realize here is one, that no matter what you're doing, even though it's not your main job, if it is your job or wherever it is, there are always skills being developed, which
Yep.
I think is really important. The second thing is you don't always have to do so much in your head. You don't have to do all the operations, and sometimes just taking action to prove that it's a business or to see if the
Mm-hmm.
model actually works is a much better way of stepping into things.
Well, they can't see this, or maybe they can if you have a video component. I've kept this within, I did plan on showing this. I've never shown this on a podcast. This is the original $5 brochure. It's called It Takes Guts, Damn It. Excuse my language. It's on the book. This was written by Paul Diamond, who died many years ago. I tried to buy the rights to this, but I think his whole family died. So I don't think there's anyone around. These 12 pages, badly written,
Yeah,
taught me who makes the decisions. Walk in, find the decision maker. Where do you find them? You find them on the trade show floor. CTO, CFO, founder.
yeah,
You find the key decision makers because they're spending a fortune to bring people towards their product, services, and or support or combination thereof. So instead of talking about what I was going to do, this taught me to just walk in and do it. This silly little book made me tens of millions of dollars. I attribute all of my success to a book that's not even in print. And I got to tell you something. Uh, Talk about a gruff character. I went in, and then when the Twin Towers fell, you pivot. Now, the skills that will never be replaced by AI are to speak, teach, and close. Stack. Speak, teach, STAC. You speak from the heart. You speak to conversion. This is
yeah,
what people don't teach. If you're not monetizing, you can't take care of your family.
yeah,
Okay, so you must speak to conversion. You must teach or frame an idea where it actually converts the audience and they forget that you're presenting. They experience it. It has to be experiential. That's what transcends, transforms, and has them break through where they go, oh my God, I can relate to this person, he, she, they, them. They can take me where I want to go. And then finally, close. What is your CTA? What is the call to action? And we all have an ethical and moral dilemma. You have to offer something because if they fall in love with you, let's say from your TED Talk, and then they go and research you online, which they generally do, and there is no system, there is no membership, there is no master class, there is no one-on-one consulting, 99.9% of the time, all these people blew it with their TED Talks and all their other talks because they don't have any architecture. So if they
yeah,
fall in love with you here, like on a podcast, which is the
yeah,
most effective form of social media, you're plugging right into an audience, small or large. It doesn't have to be big. It has to be the right audience. You really care about the people that's why I asked to be here. And we had a preliminary call because you actually listen to your guests and you make really thoughtful Like you'll take what they're saying and you'll integrate it into the real world. I'm amazed by the people who aren't even connected. It's just a sales pitch. And I don't have any secondary gain here other than to have them succeed. I want them to be able to take care of their family and not to compromise their life and not to have to put on a performative mask. They need
Yeah.
to be themselves. And usually, when you're teaching someone to speak, teach, and close, you have to remove all the layers that they applied over the years because they weren't comfortable. Usually, a level of insecurity that's so deep and so profoundly impactful that they're dealing with some kind of trauma that's held them back. And so I'm just trying to not trying, but I have processes that take them directly to their purpose. And suddenly everything changes. They understand what their purpose is in doing it. And once you have that driver, then you're unstoppable.
Absolutely. So, I mean, for you with the speak, teach, close framework, what are most of these speakers truly missing? I know you mentioned about the TED Talks a little bit, but what are they missing to not convert? Is it just the no call to action, or is it
So
a bit more than that?
let me use a visual aid, even if they can't see it, didn't plan on this.
No, you'll be
This was
good.
a system that made us, and let me just give you an example here. This system is not sold today, so there's nothing being sold. Okay, I do not have a box to sell. This system sold for 2,497. Every four of these was 10 grand, every 40 was 100 grand, and every 400 of these sold was $1 million. I went to England and I did 1 hour and 6 minutes on a platform with David Kavanaugh, very fine speaker, still working, and I had over 427 sales. What I mean is, even more came in. I had two
Wow.
cancellations. I called them directly. I got them to try it on for size. I had no cancellations. They never expect you to call and find out why they invested. I dropped to my knees backstage. I barely got off the stage and I dropped to my knees, not in prayer. I couldn't stand because when you made $1 million
Yeah.
in 1 hour and 6 minutes in the most relaxed way possible, because I'd already planned it out. In the words of Winston Churchill, it was my finest hour. I already had it planned out. I understood the psychology and the sequence and the syntax. I knew how to speak to the audience, relate to the audience. And the reason they bought, and this is what I'm going to reveal here, and I've never revealed this, I don't think, on any podcast or interview.
I
So you ask
appreciate
good questions. So, Jordan, here's the secret. When I came out in front of the audience, I just said, inside this box is what protects my family financially and emotionally. Let me just open up the first template. The first thing you need to do is this. And I then opened up each instrument and showed the audience exactly what I built for myself and how to do it. And then I opened up the next one and I opened up the next one. And when I went through about six of them, because I only had an hour, I said, as you know, I didn't come here to speak. I just came here to show you what I did for my family. The other thing I did is I walked off the stage. So I was touching people in the audience. You got on a microphone, you got on a headset, and I was
it.
just walking around and I'd put my hand on someone's shoulder to kind of lean on them while I was talking about the point. I had my clicker. And so they could see the imagery and how to do it. They're all taking copious notes because this is what allowed me to leverage my family, right? So everything I was doing was experiential. And then I said, for those of you that would like my life's work in a friggin' box, I only have like 45 of these with me. That's a problem. The rest, we're not even going to drop ship. We're going to produce them here because we're in England and I've got about a week to do it and I already have the whole thing set up. So I can cover you. I can take care of you and deliver this. And today, and I had this key around my neck, which was a memory key, a little tiny on a string.
Yeah.
It was a memory key, right? And I said, this has the first, everything I've shown you here is on the key. And I took it off my neck and I'd say, is there anyone here that really could use these answers? And so someone from the audience walked up and I said, well, to activate the key, you need to go to the back table. So it was beautiful. Everyone followed that person to the back table and they all wanted the templates. They all wanted the shortcut. I go, it's going to cost you a lot more than $2,500 to build all these templates and boilerplates. And you see how simple it is when you have it. It's a matter of seconds. It's kind of like AI 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Now everyone wants it done for them. Well,
Yeah.
this was kind of like, if I have the tools, I can do it immediately, protect, leverage my family. And Here's the second key. You never offer anything without a money back guarantee, triple lock. I pay you if you fail, and 1 year. Here's the three locks. 1 year, not 3 months, not 4-day right of rescission. That's all BS. 1 year, make all the moves. And if you don't succeed, if you don't triple the investment you made, all of your money is returned, just like escrow, just returned. Plus, I'll give you $1,000 just for having tried. And all I ask is that you make the moves. That's the only caveat. Got to make the moves. It's not
Yeah.
going to work if you don't make the moves. But my God, excuse my language here. I've taken all the guesswork out of it. Now, remember, this is not sold now. I'm just holding up the box there. So I learned that if you make it experiential for the audience and you show them the tools and they can plug right in, which is what people are doing with AI right now, they really can't come up with a reason not to proceed if there's a money back, I pay you if you fail guarantee, because now there's no risk, only reward. And you've got to emphasize that at least 3 times because people don't hear it. They hear it, but they don't integrate it. And then they don't assimilate it. And then they don't take ownership of it. So anyone that says something magical only once is making an error. It's not nothing to do with intelligence. They don't process it fully until the third time and sometimes until the seventh time. We know that with infomercials, it takes over 65 exposures before you even have a 3% conversion. So repetition and frequency is not just the mother of a new behavior. It's the mother of, I got it. I'm finally, oh my God. I'm telling you, people don't get it the first time. Nothing to do with intelligence. Most intelligent people in the world sometimes are the hardest to reach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't even know if they realize what I just told them. No one wants to hear you speak. They want you to solve a problem, their problem, in front of the room. And when you do that, when you solve their problem, you have ownership right there. Now they're not listening to a presenter. Now it's experiential. That's why I always come off the stage. I don't want to be on the stage. I don't want to be patronizing and condescending. I want to be accessible. I want them to feel, even though I'm not accessible. Because when you do this, you've got to also protect yourself because there's so many students reaching out. So you have to set up infrastructure and support systems. The only people that can access me are the people who invest in the advanced programs because all of your time is spent outside of your family and your personal life taking care of these people to ensure they actually succeed. Like this isn't theory.
Yeah.
We're very careful. We do not
Yeah.
take someone on that we don't feel will succeed. And if we don't know they have what it takes, we will not take their money or consume their time. And a lot of people we turn away, I'd say about 35%, because they won't do the work, and I know it. And I put my money where my mouth is. That's
Yeah.
why we have such a high track record. Anyway, I'm sorry if we're going
No, no,
too
no. This is
deeply in there.
amazing because I really that kind of was profound at the end where it's you basically took something from where everyone's thinking it's a speaking engagement and it's no, it's a solving engagement for the individuals that are there.
Yeah.
And it's how many activities are we doing each day that we need to completely reframe the way we're looking at them?
You know, again, this is a one-off. I don't even know if they realize what they're getting here, but I'm going to pull this thing off the side here. This is called a backstage pass.
Okay.
So let me give you a scenario. Let's say that you're speaking somewhere. I'm assuming, I mean, I've studied you and I've studied your
Yeah,
podcast and, you finding purpose and building community and, you're a performance
absolutely.
coach, but you transcend it in your 5 pillars. But there are a lot of people out there that don't realize the reason they can't get high ticket is the audience hasn't had a relationship in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or even 4 hours. It's not a relationship yet. And it needs to be a relationship where they're already dependent on the communicator, the framer of the solution that they're looking for. And they know that they're not going to figure it out on their own necessarily, nor is ChatGPT going to hallucinate them to the
Mhm.
point where they know they can rely on it. So, this backstage pass, I was asked to speak recently on a stage here in Los Angeles, which is local. My student, David Fagan, it was his stage. And I said, sure, of course, why wouldn't I support my student
Yeah,
putting on a local event? I didn't care. And I said, do you trust me? Can I do what I want? It's not going to hurt you, I promise you. And he said, yeah. So I had these made up and I designed these in PowerPoint. It's a backstage pass. When you
yeah,
go to a concert with Prince or Michael Jackson or Adele or whoever,
Yeah.
You really want a backstage pass. I mean, that's what everyone
Yeah.
dreams of. If they're a Swiftie, they want a backstage pass, right?
Yeah.
So what did I do? I had everyone, I say, I'm going to hand out backstage passes right at the beginning of the presentation. The
Yeah.
backstage pass had a QR code, and the backstage pass had all my credibility right there. So I don't even need to have them write down anything or scan it yet because they're walking around with it. Okay. So I've already got what I want. I've
Yeah.
already captured them before they even know it,
Yeah.
ethically and morally. And now I say to them, how many of you would like to do this, achieve? And of course, I'm using universals because I know that they're going to need to make at least $1 million a year,
Yeah.
online, offline. If they're raising 2 to 3 children, after taxes, you're lucky if you end up with 400 grand, depending upon your bracket and your investments. I mean, so I'm asking them questions I know the answer to.
Yeah.
And I say on this particular backstage pass, when you scan it, you're going to deposit in the Make a Wish Foundation $29. I don't make a dime. David doesn't make a dime, not a dime, because a child has a wish and you're going to make it come true. That money goes directly to the fulfillment of a wish before they die, because that's what it is. They're going to die, and you're
Yeah.
going to die too. It's a matter of when. At least they know what they want. Most of you don't know what you want. So I said, now, when you do this, I get to transfer my life's work to you next week for 5 days, hour and a half a day. And here are all the things you're going to take ownership of. Everything you just rose your hand. Oh, so now I'm not trying to sell at $997, and their investment is going to be 10, 20, 30, $50,000, maybe 250, depending upon what level and what acceleration they want. I'm not
Yeah.
interested in taking someone to one move or to slight improvement. I'm interested in transformation. And so
Yeah.
you need more than a TikTok. You need some time, right? So I want people to write this down. Don't try and close them for anything. Give the money away and then have the agreement be, I'll give you the world if you'll contribute $29 to a charity. Now, the money goes to a charity. Who's going to say no to that, right? And then they show up, and now you hold their hand, and this is the real secret here. You hold their hand for a minimum of 5 days, hour and a half a day, and you take them to breakthrough. And each day you show up on time, and you do about 10 minutes overtime, and you give some of the best stuff that you have ever learned, and they're able to achieve in that 1 week staggering breakthroughs that they've never achieved anywhere for prices that are, and it was $29 contributed to a charity that you made nothing on. At the end of
Yeah.
that week, you say, this is our last point of contact. I've been with you every day. You got a taste of the coaching, a taste of solutions, a taste of how to mentor. You got all of it. I've given you as much as, is there anyone here that questions? I've given you all that I have that I could possibly give you in an hour and a half a day for 5 days. And what happens is, I just want you to know that tomorrow there'll be a breakout session. I sold you nothing this week. You sell nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, what have you really sold them on? The fact that you show up on time, over deliver, care for them, and on a reoccurring basis, show up for them. You built in 1 week a relationship. And it's very hard when someone pulls that relationship out because they know I got to go back to serving my groups. And so about 15 to 20% will apply in a breakout session to work with your company at high level where they will invest real money, covering your expense and not a whole lot more. The process I just gave them is the only way to do that. You will not close a $20,000 offer to a cold audience that you've never met before, no matter how you're introduced. You're not going to close them at 20. You might get lucky once in a while and someone might get it. Okay. But for the most, you won't. But when you first create the relationship, they are so, I can't afford to be without them. I can't afford to be without her. This person has mentored me this week, not coached me, mentored me. This is the answer. Now,
Yeah.
wrap yourself around this, Jordan. Look at what they spent on their college education. Look at the years they put into all the education that could have been compressed into 3 to 5%. I've spoken to doctors, engineers, architects, and attorneys. And they all tell me the same thing. What we learned in school could have been compressed. We actually use 5%. The rest was a waste of time. And when we got out of law school, when we got out of med school, when we got out, that's when we had to learn. That's when we had to actually learn and apprentice. And we weren't respected. Doctors aren't respected when they have to earn the respect. Attorneys, if you're going to school for which requires schooling, certain careers,
Yeah.
but in today's world now, man, you better know what you're doing. You can have your child waste $500,000. You would have been better investing that in the S&P 500, the money you're putting into their college, and they would have been wealthy. And at 45, 50 years old, they're worth $9 million. And that's doing very conservative investing. Much better. Your kid's set for
100%.
life financially. They're not set for life from college. I don't care if it's an old boys club or old girls club. All of our kids are well educated, and they all use what I teach. They don't use what they learn in school, except for my
Yeah.
son, who's a musician. He loved Berkeley College of Music. It was fantastic for him, but he's still using the marketing skills to position himself. They didn't teach him that.
Well, the true gain is how we frame situations
Yep.
and how we place ourselves, and that's why I found it so interesting when you were talking about presenting on your student stage. I didn't pitch them $1,000 thing. I didn't pitch them a 10,000 or a 20,000. $29 donation, and you get a week's worth of, yeah, and then the backstage pass. Because everything I'm learning about, and even throughout my life, and just seeing presentations and all of this, it's all framing. It's all how we frame things is how we create the life that we want. So yeah.
I just realized I had it here. This is the key.
Oh
So
wow.
I used to wear the key on a little black cord around my tie, and I would show the first template, and then I'd hold the key up and I go, it's right here on this USB, and it's proprietary, and it uses Israeli encryption, which is extremely sophisticated. So anyone that owns the key has the tools. How do you
Yeah.
put a price on them? It's priceless, right? So I kept showing it and showing it and showing it. And then when I'm approaching the third section, you don't close at the end, you close 75% in. So I'd
Interesting.
say, may I have permission to introduce my family? It's called a permission close. You might want to write this down. Not you, but the people listening in. This is what changed Russell Brunson's life. And then he shared this with Grant Cardone. And Grant said this was like, this will make me $6 million. It made him $13 million that year. It's called the permission close. You do not sell anything. You ask permission. May I have permission to introduce my family and the system that put us all in a position where money is no longer a concern, or where depression and regression are no longer a concern, or where pain and health are no longer a concern. So there's only three divisions. It's either financial, emotional, or physiological. Everything falls under one of those three.
Yeah.
So when you say that, the audience, who's not going to let them introduce your family and the system? Now, if they want a divorce from the whole scenario, because they're in a marriage ostensibly, then they can leave. And now you're not proselytizing. Everyone else who doesn't ask permission is taking the audience from a teaching mode to a sales mode. No one likes that. So I
Yeah.
asked permission. I said, this would be a good time for you to leave if you're not interested in the system that gave us this freedom, financially, emotionally, physiologically, depending upon the
Yeah.
niche or the target outcome. So I'm not even sure you realize that your people listening in, I'm giving them actual framing structure plus
Yeah.
language. Everyone needs to be able to speak. We all do it. We don't do it very well generally. Most people are just talking, 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 but it's not getting them anywhere. And it's not
Yeah.
clear. They don't know what the outcome is. And when they teach something or they explain something, it doesn't necessarily coalesce an outcome where they can take someone to an extraordinary breakthrough transformational place. And when they ask for an action, a call to action, they're not even clear as to where to send them. So when you figure out those three things, speaking, teaching, closing, where you know
Yeah.
exactly where then the words of Churchill make sense. It's
Yeah.
you're never going to do anything more fulfilling than have planned something out that will impact someone else's life, where they're going to have a breakthrough and they're not going to have to go through all the hell, excuse my language, that you
Yeah.
went through to arrive at this beautiful destination, which is replicatable, duplicatable, and transferable to anyone because none of this requires talent. It's all
Yeah.
technique driven. Technique is transferable. Talent is not. I don't have
Yeah.
any talent.
I love that. I think it's incredible. I know, I know we only got we got probably a couple more minutes, and I got a couple more questions. So
Sure.
the interesting thing I was thinking about was you have a value ladder, like, and you kind of have like a different pricing and that kind of structure. How do you
Yeah.
think about that? Because I know that can be challenging for a lot of people. Of like, how do you put this price? How do you have this identity? And how do you think about that stuff?
Well, let's take a look at your 5 pillars. Okay.
Yeah,
And your 5 pillars, and I'm not lying to anyone here. I wrote them down and I've studied you. I'm not going to hop on a podcast without caring about the person. I mean, you and I met before this and decided if it was a good fit, could it make a difference?
absolutely.
You're good.
Yeah, no, we had a prep
So
call and everything. Yeah.
let's go through it. Mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, relationships, and spirituality. First of all, congratulations. Those are the pillars. That is, there's nothing more powerful. If someone did that, they're going to have closure, unity, balance. Their life is going to be incredible
Yeah.
because they're not just receiving, they're not just a narcissist, they're giving back and they're doing it, and everything's in balance. Here's the situation: mental health and physical health fall under health.
Okay.
So mental health isn't separate.
Yeah.
If you fix the mind, you also impact the body. If you fix the
Yes.
body, you impact the mind. Even Tony Robbins, who teaches on
Totally.
motivation, will tell you that change your thinking, you change your physiology. Change your physiology, change the thinking. So we can combine mental health and physical health. 5 is a powerful number, but they can't remember 5. They only remember 3. And since health is wealth and wealth is health, oh, that's interesting. Well, wait a
Yeah.
minute here. If wealth is health, and health is wealth. And the spelling of health and wealth, it just changes the first letter. It's the same
Yeah.
spelling. You can't choose your care provider unless you have money, right?
Yes.
Right?
Fine.
You're not going to buy your kid the right organ unless you make whatever. I'm not going to go there, but let's just say that the wealthy have a definitive, it can change how long you live. It can change
Of
the
course.
quality of your life. So health and wealth are married. Community service and philanthropy is a relationship. That's a relationship. That's how you live your life. You don't just take, you don't just receive, you give back. So, community service and philanthropy, that attitude and altitude falls under relationships. So now we only have 2. We have mental and physical health. Health is the first,
Yeah.
but health has the double letter, the wealth and the health. And that allows us to embrace that. That's the first component. So it's going to be health, number 1. 2 is going to be relationships. And 3 is going to be higher power, spirituality, that of what you believe in, whether you believe in nothing, which means you believe in yourself, or you believe
Yeah.
in something, and
Yeah.
to think that all of this around us, my wife and I were downstairs and we have all these birds in the backyard and the little squirrel was eating, and it's all a friggin' miracle. How can
Yeah.
anyone argue? Our body wants to heal itself if it was only
Yeah.
given the opportunity, and we eliminated the seed oils and we oxygenated the blood supply and we allow the parasites to die off, and we eliminate the number 1 toxin on the planet, which is sugar, which automatically cancels out the majority of inflammation, which is the number 1 cause of disease. There it is in a nutshell. You eliminate processed sugar, you live longer. You
Yeah.
eliminate processed sugar, you eliminate 80% of cancer. Why?
Wow.
It feeds on sugar. No sugar, how's it even going to develop? And the elimination of processed sugar, you just substitute in stevia, real stevia, and you've got a
Yeah.
level of sweetness that transcends processed sugar. So people just don't, you tell them this will kill you if you smoke this. They still smoke it. This will
Yeah.
kill you if you drink this, and then they still do it. They don't listen. You give them the Holy Grail and they still don't listen. But some do. It's a tiny percentage, maybe
Yeah.
1 to 3%. So
Yeah.
I'm only, you give them the best of what you have, you over deliver it. So what we just did was we took your 5 pillars and we reduced them down to health, relationship,
And
and
spirituality.
belief. No, you don't say
Of course.
spirituality because you'll lose your audience. You see, some
Yeah.
people don't want to hear about that. If you want to divide your audience, talk about politics or religion. So we now have belief. Now think
Interesting.
about that. Think about how simple I made that. And when you
Yeah.
go on stage now, you say, I want you all to write down 3 things. I'm going to get you healthy, which means wealthy, which means you're going to be able to choose how long you live and the quality of your life while you're here. Number 2, You're going to be able to give back, but you're going to receive so much more than you would have received. So not only are you going to be able to leverage wealth here, but you're going to have relationships that are entirely fulfilling. And you're going to attract people in your life that you only dreamed of who will come to you magnetically because of where you come from. And that embraces community service, philanthropy, and intimacy in relationships. You are going to receive so much in your life. Number three, you're going to have a higher power in your life. And I'm not going to label that religion. You're going to appreciate what you've been given. You're going to reside in a level of gratitude. Now, I could craft this even more, but now you have three components. And you have them, health. And now you hold up your hand, and suddenly they go through it. You go through
Yeah.
it. So you touch someone's hand in the audience or online, you put it right on the screen, and you go, health. Right now, if we took the 5 pillars, just this technique alone,
Yeah.
you're going to have health. Everyone, put your thumb on the screen. Touch my thumb. Without health, you
Yeah.
got nothing. You ain't taking it with you. There's no U-Haul behind the hearse. You're taking nothing with you. Health. I'm going to make sure
Yeah.
you have your health. Number 2, I'm going to make sure you have your mindset, your mental health, not just your physical health. Your mindset determines everything. How you program it, how you direct it, how you transform, transcend, reinvent, retool, reposition, and calibrate. Number 2, your mindset. Number 3, your relationships. What if suddenly you were attracting soulmates? The kind of people that you only dreamed of, never able to attract before. We're going to build your relationships number. And then, so you match it up and now they're all doing, now together, tell me, what was this? That was, and the audience is now repeating. And then you're touching someone in the front row and then their hand is here. And then you go like
Yeah.
this. You
Oh,
said,
wow.
it's
And
all
all.
about connection. I'm
Yeah.
touching the person in the front row or the person on the screen. And I tell them, put your other hand right here now, pretend it's my hand. And now what do we have? We have the most important thing in the world. All touch is good when it's backed by the right intention, and
Yeah.
all touch is bad when it's backed with ill intention. Imagine you could touch the lives, all the lives that you care for, and that you could attract those, and you had a life that was so fulfilled, a life in balance. And that brings us to this, which is, right? Your
Yeah.
power is not what you show. Your power is exhibited by your actions and what you become. So just using that, it's about framing your framework. For me, it's speak, teach, and close. But the and doesn't count. STAC. Speak, teach, and close. It's only 3 things. So I had to simplify my whole process down to 3 things so they could remember it. When I represented all those companies, it was always, attract, convert, leverage, or discover, design, and deliver, or acknowledge, activate, and achieve, or mindset, mission, moves. You bring it down, and now you have something you're going to use for the rest of your life. That's your model. That's your paradigm.
Yeah.
When you condense your 5 down to those 3, you're able to communicate it in a way where they're going to remember it. Think about it. 5 is a lot to remember.
It is.
There's something magical about not 2, not 1, 3. 3 moves to monetize, 3 moves to manifest, 3 moves to be unforgettable at the first point of contact. It all comes down to 3 moves. And I've taught this to my students. I'm going to grab a handful of their work. So these are like little books I teach them to write.
Yeah.
And these little books are only 12 pages. If you want to hide something, put it in a big book. They'll never read. People aren't reading anymore. They've been conditioned not to read. So you can
Yeah.
see here 3 moves to millions.
Yeah.
That's Clint. And these are books written with prescription. Like forget about AI. Oh my God, this is a science.
Yeah.
This scientifically delivers their pitch, and they're all made of business cards. Now, 3 moves to become unforgettable. I'm not going to go through all of them.
Yeah.
3 steps to present like a pro, online, offline. So this whole principle of 3 is not theory. I've had over 2 million students, if you combine the offline with the online, and
Yeah.
over 2,900 at the highest level have trained with me to mastery, where they're now running their own events online, offline. And we're not going to be replaced by AI for one reason.
Yeah.
There are people that still want the human touch, and they always will. And there are people that aren't looking for 11,000 ways to lead generate. They're looking for one way, and they want you to hold their hand, prove it, make it happen, give them ownership of the technique, and then teach them the next technique. And before you know it, they've got mastery. You've transferred your work to them. There are people that want the human touch. For example, I can learn to play chess online right now.
Yeah.
Tons of chess training ever since we had the Queen's Gambit on Netflix, which really opened. And I've been playing chess my whole life. And people ask me, do you want to play a game of chess? And I go, why? Unless you're no, because it's going to be over in 8, 9 moves.
Yeah.
Because when they make a move, I'm working off of pattern recognition. So I want people to hear this. Everything is based on patterns. So when I teach the audience, it's not a what if, it's an absolute. I'm showing
Yeah.
them techniques that will work, which is why they come to me and why they invest in the process, because it's not a what if. It's an
Yeah.
absolute. That's why we offer all the money back guarantees. And other people need to be that sure. For example, if you were teaching podcasting and I wanted to build a podcast, I'd say to you, I want to fly into where you are, or you can fly here.
Yeah.
Charge me whatever. Tell me the price. I want to be with you for 2 days. And at the end of the 2 days, I want to know everything I need to know and omit whatever's unnecessary. Will you be able to turn me into a podcaster, able to ask the right questions, respond appropriately, position and target the audience, distribute it with the right technology, and then leverage it? Can you do that in 2 days? And you go, well, yeah, I can. What would that be worth? And let's say you say to me 20 grand. Well, that's the best 20 grand I've ever invested in my life.
It's
Because
the
at the end of the 2 days, I don't have to spend the time you spent, which was years,
of course.
developing experiential, because then you transfer your life's work now to me. You just save me all the failure and frustration and anxiety and stress. That was
And
the
I,
most
I want
valuable money I ever spent on you. That's what people need to understand.
I want the audience to realize that when you have the true confidence that you're delivering something valuable, and it's not just confidence, but it's realizing in the perspective of like, hey, I didn't get a deal or get a thing. It's you're truly servicing people and you're truly helping them expedite their life in a much better way than they were going about it previously. That's priceless. Like it's a
I
very valuable skill. Yeah.
Peng Joon, PENGJOON.com. He's real. He was about to give
Yeah.
up on his dream, and he was about 26 years old. His father
Yeah.
said, I sent you to Tony Robbins. I sent you to Blair Singer. I sent you to the finest speakers on the planet. He trained with the best. Only problem was he had monetized $1. And if you can't make money, you're going to do something else in your life to make the money,
Of
unless you were
course.
born into generational wealth, which unfortunately is not me and not you.
Yeah.
So here's the truth. Peng came to me, Peng Joon. He said, this is my last resort. And I don't even advertise. It was all word of mouth. And
Yeah.
then he comes up to me at the first break on the first day of that masterclass, which we no longer offer. We already ended that. After 50 of those, 50 million bucks. If you
Wow.
can't invest 50 million and live off the interest and never touch the principal, something's wrong with you. So my wife and I did $50 million events. Some were higher, some were maybe 100,000 lower. And
Yeah.
it set us up for a lifetime. And I was teaching other people how to do the same thing. So Peng Joon left that event 11 days later. At the break, he said to me, this is too simple. I'm afraid it's not going to work. And I said, well, then I'll wire you back all your money. I'll even pay your expenses. Go back to Malaysia. And I'm going to call someone because it's the first day of the event and I'll replace you because we got a waiting list. We only trained 50. He said, well, I don't want to go home. I said, well, you just told me you got 1 foot out and 1 foot in. You think it's too simple. This is my life's work. It's all I have. It is very simple. We take the complex and make it simple. That's the problem. People are making things too complicated with your metaphors and your allegory and all this crap you learned
Yeah.
that doesn't actually work. That's why you're not converting. You're motivated and
Yeah.
inspired, but that doesn't work either unless you've got the right tools and the right.
You got to take action.
So
Absolutely.
he sat back down. He didn't take my offer. I was just going to refund him and send him on his way. It cost me money. I don't care. I don't want someone in there. I don't want to be in a marriage someone doesn't want to be in. That's misery. That's the worst
Yeah.
thing. The person you marry determines your fate in this lifetime. The quality of your life. You marry the wrong person, wrong dynamic, you got a problem. Marry
Yeah.
the right person, it's a fantastic life, period. really, truly, aside from
I agree.
money. Yeah. So Peng Joon went back 6 days later. He went to Malaysia. He stood on the Success Resources stage. They knew he'd been trained by me now because he failed the first time, made nothing. He had his first table rush. His girlfriend, Xu Ying, had her eyes covered because she'd never seen him close anything. Total failure. He'd make it. Suddenly, all four, they ran out of, so they came over to Xu Ying, and the producer of the event pulled the hands off her eyes and said, "We ran out of order forms. We got a problem. The guy's got a table rush on all four tables, all four sides of the room, 4,000 a pop." And it never failed. He had
Wow.
now cracked the code. That's what he came to me for, so that he could communicate what was inside him, frame it properly, and build in all the right closes and all the right languaging, ethically and morally, with no exaggeration. He never looked back. He now does 26 million a year. He did $1 million out of the gate. And by the way, just so you know, Jordan, I have nothing to sell here. If they go to joelbauer.com, Peng Joon's interview, where he breaks down how he did it for free, is right at the top of the page. Video, download, nothing to buy. Right there. That's what I want them to have. I want them to live vicariously through someone else who was at zero and now he's a hero online, offline.
I
And
love that.
he was about to compromise his dream and live his father's dream. And instead, he retired his father within 6 months. And unfortunately, 2 years ago, his father died in his arms. And I met him. And I wish I had that man as my father. He had a fantastic father.
That's incredible. Joel, you're amazing. Where can people learn? I know you just said your website,
Yeah,
but anywhere else?
joelbauer.com. Joel
Yeah.
Bauer, there's the name right there. And .com. And again, they don't have to buy anything. They just right at the top. We make it easy for them. We actually broke it down in a transcript. We highlighted it for them. We gave them the MP3, but the actual video interview. So Peng Joon came to my room in Malaysia because he said to me, "I want to tell you how I just made 10 million first year out of the gate. May I share that with you?" I broke it down into 10 moves. And I said, "What am I going to say? No, I'm
Of
no better than my students' results.
course.
That's it. That's the measure of my success." And
Yeah.
I'm 65 right now. The day I will stop doing this, to my last breath, will be the day where no one's coming for help because I have the ability to transfer my life's work to them in a fraction of the time without the frustration, the anxiety, the stress, the trepidation,
Yeah.
and the self-doubt. Yeah,
Of
because
course.
there's a lot of that. And the day I stop doing it is the day where my insecurity kicks in. Because we all kind of, we all kind of question, does my stuff really work? As long as I see it working, that's what keeps me going. Because
Absolutely.
honest to God, if every day I give all that I have to the people I'm working with and I see them breaking through radically and then they're independent, not codependent on government or anyone else, it gives you purpose to continue doing it. Because
I
what's the
love
point? What's the point? I don't want another car.
it.
I don't want another house. I don't want another wife. I don't need any more children. I got children and grandchildren. I got a great life. It's in balance.
Yeah.
And as long as I keep giving back and I see the results, then the imposter syndrome, it doesn't kick in.
Yeah. I love
It's a
that.
reality, and people don't want to talk about it, but we always question: is it really as great as we say it is? Well, that won't kick in if you keep producing results
If
for
you keep
someone else.
if you keep
Yeah,
pushing forward.
and then you're
Yeah, no, I
okay.
I completely agree because the more you do it and the more you speak about your experience and people start to understand what you're doing and you're sharing more and more and more, you're
Yeah.
stepping into authentically who you really are and who you're becoming. And that's incredible stuff. Joel, you're amazing.
So are you, and anyone who's listening to your podcast knows that you not only listen but you care, you respond appropriately. There's a lot of podcasters out there that it's all about them, and the whole idea is you're trying to bring people to your audience that will actually impact change: financial, emotional, physiological, spiritual, your pillars. You want them to have a better life. You could be doing a lot of things with your time, Jordan, and probably more profitably, but you're doing this because it actually has an impact. I do believe podcasting is the finest form of social media because you're plugging in to either a small audience or a large audience. But if the audience really understands why they're there, those leads are right now. I just like telling people this, But if you advertise on Facebook, for example, if you're using Meta or you're using, whatever,
Yeah.
uh, you're going to be paying $300 to $900 a lead with show
Wow.
ratios lower than they've ever been. And it's kind of, I could also talk to them specifically as to why the algorithms and why they push the, but we're
Yeah,
not going to get into that. Let's just say that it's diminished returns.
of
You
course.
get on a podcast with someone who cares, like Jordan, and whether he's got 1,000 people, 200 people, or 20 million people, the people he has trust him. They've had a
Yes.
good track record. He vets the people. I so appreciated you finding out about me and having a discussion before we did this, because
Yeah.
otherwise you don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I
No, they
also
understand
appreciate
better.
your, letting me speak a little bit, because if you said to me, I want everything down to 30 seconds, 60 seconds, well, then I would have given you real short, anecdotal.
Yeah.
There's no depth in it. Doesn't take him anywhere.
Yeah.
So
No,
all
it's
of you,
amazing.
yeah, appreciate what
Amazing.
Jordan's done. And if you listen to the podcast that I've listened to that he has online, you're going to be amazed at your takeaways.
Yeah.
You're going to be amazed at the things you can actually apply. He's interviewed some incredible people that will impact your life on a radical level, radical in a good way, financial and emotional breakthrough. Thank you, sir, for having me. I'm massively appreciative.
Absolutely.